Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Would you like even more content? Here's my Patreon. Now onto the stories. Case file number 1312, written by Insane Fox 32. The Positive Power of Memories. When I was a kid, I used to have a pure white Labrador named Elkie. Had her since she was a small nugget. I say she was pure white, but she had a little black spot near her tush. If it wasn't for that spot and her purple collar, she would just disappear in the snow. She was a big girl, and I used to ride her around like a horse. I was a small kid, so don't worry. She also knew places around the house and would take me there if I had asked her, like, "Elkie, kitchen please." She was the goodest girl. Anyways, we had to move to a different state, and the place we were moving to wouldn't allow pets, so Elkie had to stay behind. I missed her so much it hurt. As I got more comfortable, I found out she unfortunately passed away around March 14th that year. 4 months later, my dad was making a service call to someone's apartment, and there, this lady had a puppy she had just gotten. She was only 4 months old. She was a pure white Labrador with a tiny black spot on her tush. When my dad entered the apartment, the puppy started going nuts. Lady told my dad not to worry. She didn't like strangers all that much and she'll calm down. Except she wasn't barking because she was afraid or wary. She was barking because she was excited. When my dad sat on the floor, the puppy would sit exactly how Elkie used to sit and lay her head on his lap, howl how she used to howl, do things she used to do. The lady was stunned because she never taught the puppy much of anything like what she was doing. She also just didn't like being around new people, apparently. My dad told her, "I might sound crazy, but I think this is my old dog." In a joking manner, of course. He didn't think too much of it. But after his work, he was done and was leaving. The puppy started whining and crying, biting his pant leg, trying to keep him from going. My dad got sad. He told me if he could, he would have offered to buy that dog off her right then and there, but we couldn't. And he kept walking towards his van, and he told me hearing her cry and scratching the door the way she did hurt him so much, too much. I'm crying just writing this out. I didn't know what to make of this as a kid. Still don't as an adult. Maybe she did manage to come back as a new puppy, and I could only hope that family loved her as much as I did. I miss you, girl. Case file 1312. The Positive Power of Memories. I love the idea of reincarnation, and it makes sense. We're dealing with souls here, and by soul it's simply the active energy that empowers or animates the physical body, the physical mass, because otherwise it's just atoms, molecules. There's no life in that, not in the sentient form that we experience, the free will enabling energy. That's the soul. So if the soul can move universes, well, who's to say that maybe we get a choice. Maybe we can just re-emerge in the same universe and reincarnated in a similar form, or even in a different form. And yes, I do believe that animals have souls. So your pet, your favorite pet, in this case, the pure white Elkie, she just wanted to come back. And maybe there isn't always like a specific choice of exactly where, but maybe there was the option of coming back in a way where at least she could interact once more with the old family. And obviously she remembered it. That's another question, how much of the memory of an old life do we really retain? How much can we retain? People talk about past memories of other lives, going back centuries or more. It's probably true. Maybe the further back you go, the more muted the memory is, harder to really bring along. Genetic memory, soul memory, I guess it works similarly. Bonus file written by Griffons, The Home Alone Horror. Just as a little background, I was about 12. My parents were on some trip at the time with my sister, and my youngest sibling was spending the night with my aunt. I was asleep when I woke up at around 3 a.m. to the sound of a loud bang in the kitchen. We had 2 cats, so I thought it was a chunkier of the 2 jumping down from the counter. That was until I rolled over anyways, seeing both of the cats cuddled up on the bed. I, being the kind of person who would die first in a horror movie, got out of bed. As I got to the door, one of the lights in the hallway turned on. I brushed it off, thinking my youngest sibling had come home in the middle of the night from my aunt's, which wasn't uncommon when they stayed over there. When I got to the hall though, the bathroom door was wide open. I peeked into my siblings' room and didn't see them. I thought that maybe I was just seeing things, that maybe the light had been on the whole time. So deciding to investigate the noise, I crept downstairs, doing the careful step over that one creaky stair that I'm pretty sure everyone had. When I got downstairs, all the lights were on, which was strange because I knew I had turned them off. Mom had been snapping at us kids about it recently. I slowly walked through the living room, then the dining room, then the kitchen, until I was back in the hallway, making sure no one was there and turning off the lights. When I glanced down the hall, I noticed the basement door was closed, which was strange because the litter box was down there, so it always stayed open. I opened the door to see all the basement lights were on. This made me really uneasy because I know for a fact I didn't turn these on. I never went in the basement when I was home alone. I hated it down there for a number of reasons. That's a story for another time. So I did what any logical idiot would do and grabbed a chef's knife from the kitchen before going downstairs to investigate. I walked around the basement and no one was there. So again, I turned the lights off and left, heading back upstairs. Just as I started to walk down the first floor hall to go back to bed, I heard what sounded like a little girl's voice say my name. I froze, and I honestly probably peed a little. It was loud and clear, yet still somehow sounded far away. I noped the hell out of there, ran up to my room, put my knife in my nightstand and hid under the covers. I stayed awake listening, and eventually scrambled to find my phone and text my parents asking when they'd be back. They didn't answer, probably because it was the butt crack of dawn, and stayed hiding under the covers, clinging to my phone and trying my hardest to stay awake. Eventually I fell asleep, and was woken up a while after by my mom asking if I was okay and that my text had scared her and my dad. I said I was just tired and she left. I've tried really hard to reason this with myself, but I can't. I honestly don't think about it if I can avoid it, but it's one of those things that replays in my head when I can't sleep. Caissons for the bonus file, the Home Alone horror. I would attribute this to a classic spirit, or you have spirits that just interact with the EM spectrum, can easily activate light switches without even having to flip the switch. You just bridge the connection internally, where the switch is what actually bridges the connection normally. Maybe they do actually flip the switches, but I think even easier is just bridging the connection via the soul energy, you could say. Now, they want to terrify you, or was it just lonely? Or even just training? You can imagine that, like a training montage for spirits, like Bobby in Supernatural, where he becomes a spirit, but you're not just gifted the knowledge of how to interact with the physical world, still you have to learn it and train yourself for it. And for that, maybe you need a Rocky montage. So all these spirits we think are trying to terrify us are just training themselves. An interesting concept. And now time for the quote of the day. Every man dies, but not every man really lives. William Wallace. So I've been thinking about this a bit. What does it mean to really live? I think the best summary I can come up with is to have an experience or multiple experiences that, if you're on your deathbed and thinking back to it, you can say, I lived a good life. This life was worth living for those moments. Do you have any memories like that? To that extent, that potency yet? I don't think I do. So I'm definitely not ready to go yet. Probably won't be for a few centuries, maybe a few thousand years. We'll see. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.